Ilhan Omar just does not get it. The same day that the House rebukes her for anti-Semitic comments, she takes to Twitter, sharing a tweet blasting Meghan McCain, who is a staunch supporter of Israel, the daughter of the late Senator John McCain, and she just does not get it. Is this her final strike? Also, I've got new evidence that shows that AOC's dire prediction of the world ending in 11 years might be accurate after all. All that, plus your comments, questions, and a whole lot more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
God bless the United States of America.
Okay, those of you that are following Ilhan Omar, there's a resolution that was presented in the House of Representatives to condemn her for yet another anti-Semitic comment. The House delayed it. Nancy Pelosi and others were feeling pressure from progressives, such as Rashida Tlaib and others, to water it down, make it, against all forms of bigotry and not just singling out Ilhan Omar, which was not the right approach. But they finally got a resolution together, voted on it yesterday. And just to bring you up to speed, here's a little bit of background from the Washington Times. When she suggested last month that lawmakers who supported Israel were bought off by Jewish money, she apologized, and the whole House voted in favor of a resolution condemning anti-Semitism. Ms. Omar has yet to apologize for her latest comments, suggesting that some of her colleagues were showing dual allegiance. I want to talk about the political influence in this country that says it's okay for people to push for allegiance to a foreign country. All right, so the resolution passed 407 to 23, which the no votes were, I think, 100% Republican, taking a stand that this should have been a focused resolution against Omar herself because of this ongoing anti-Semitic comments that just didn't start, as I talked about in a previous show, didn't start when she got to Congress. There's a long history of these kind of remarks, comments, actions, and you just wonder how much time does she have left before something is seriously done about her to get her off her committees, like the Republicans got Steve King off their committees, and see what's going to happen next. The Washington Times goes on with a further report. Let's dive in. It says, this is Nancy Pelosi actually kind of saying that, the resolution was in general anti-bigotry and not focused on Omar. It's not about her. It's about these forms of hatred, the speaker said. The resolution, though, pointed specifically to the type of allegiance argument Ms. Omar made. Whether from the political right, center, or left, bigotry, discrimination, oppression, racism, and imputations of dual loyalty threaten American democracy and have no place in American political discourse, the document read. But so the resolution's finally voted on. It comes through. What do you think a normal person might do? Would maybe lay low for a little bit, maybe apologize actually for these, saying, she was wrong and vow not to do it again, or at least be quiet? Nope. She takes to Twitter and forwards along a tweet from a host of Al Jazeera. And I just wanted you to read the tweet, but first a little background. The tweet blasts Meghan McCain, who on The View yesterday got really emotional talking about anti-Semitism and her feelings about Israel and the Jewish community in general. And here's just a short clip.
And it is very dangerous. Very dangerous. And I think we all collectively as Americans on both sides, and what Ilhan Omar is saying is very scary to me, and it's very scary to a lot of people, and I don't think you have to be Jewish to recognize that.
Okay, so Mehdi Hassan, a host of Al Jazeera, posted this tweet, which then Omar retweeted yesterday. Take a look. It says, Meghan's late father literally sang bomb, bomb, bomb Iran and insisted on referring to his Vietnamese captors as G-word. He also, lest we forget, gave the world Sarah Palin. So a little less faux outrage over a former refugee turned freshman representative, please. This is what Omar retweeted on the day that she was rebuked by the House. So come on, let's get a clue, all right? Let's end this once and for all. She needs a serious rebuke. She needs to be off her committees, and we need to show that these type of comments will not stand. They divide the country, and it's not what America stands for. Israel is our staunchest ally in the Middle East, the only democracy in the Middle East, and she runs counter. Everything she says runs counter to what we believe as Americans. So, we'll keep on this and see what she's going to say next, because she does not appear to show any remorse. And it's just going to keep going on and on and on. So now we're going to move from her to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, because, as you know, in her Green New Deal, she brought up UN statistics, UN reports that show that, unless we change things, the world's going to be in just chaos in 12 years. The situation will be so bad, it can't be reversed, and it's just going to be a crazy doom situation. Well, there's more news. I've got more breaking news from the Associated Press, and I just wanted to dive into this, and it kind of backs up what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying. So this is a report from the Associated Press. The author is Peter James Spielman, and here's what he reports. So this is under the title, UN Predicts Disaster If Global Warming Not Checked. A senior UN environmental official says entire nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels if global warming trend is not reversed in 11 years, in brackets. I'll get to that in a second. Coastal flooding and crop failures would create an exodus of eco-refugees, threatening political chaos, said Noel Brown, director of the New York office of the UN Environmental Program, UNEP. Okay, so Brown, in this Associated Press report, goes on to kind of explain what's going to happen. And here's the Associated Press story. As the warming melts polar ice caps, ocean levels will rise by up to 3 feet, enough to cover the Maldives and other flat island nations, Brown told the Associated Press in an interview on Wednesday. Coastal regions will be inundated. 1/6 of Bangladesh could be flooded, displacing 1/4 of its 90 million people. 1/5 of Egypt's arable lands in the Nile Delta would be flooded, cutting off food supply, according to the joint UNEP and U.S. Environmental Protection Agency study. All right. So, and then finally in the report, Brown talks about money, how we should kind of pay some nations to keep up their global rainforest, transfer technology from places like the U.S. to third world nations. So he really gets into the core of what global warming issue and climate change is all about. And that's about money and power, creating this global cartel that takes power away from the U.S., puts it in centralized control. And it's not about the environment, it's about the money. But here's where I was just a little bit misleading. I'll put up the first graphic that I showed with the brackets where it says in 11 years. And really what that actually said was by the year 2000. Because this story was not written yesterday or the day before. This was written in 1989, citing that we have 11 years until global gloom and doom. So that was 1989. Here we are in 2019, and we're still going on. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's 11-year prediction, that's what they were saying in 1989. That's what they're saying now. It doesn't mean we shouldn't pollute, but we have to look at this from a logical, scientific position. And it's not settled science. If you think about ice ages and global temperatures going up and down, what the real concern is the human influence on environment and what we can do to change that. Not the fact that temperatures just go up and down. They've been doing that for millennia. And this report right here from 1989 predicted the same kind of things that we're seeing today. And it's just absolutely crazy. So before I get to comments, I want to get 2 quick little news bites that you can look up. I'll put in links in the description, but I just wanted to mention these so that when you're digging through the news, you can find this. So you remember in the GOP debates of 2016, we had started with 17 candidates, ended up with Donald Trump, and every network hosted a GOP primary debate. You had CBS, you had ABC, you had CNN, and they did a terrible job. The bias, Lester Holt and some of these questions were just outrageous, trying to make Republicans look bad as we're trying to pick a nominee. So now the Democrats are getting ready for their primary season, their primary debates, and the head of the DNC said that Fox News is not going to be allowed to debate because they're unfair and can't be neutral. And this is coming from, they're going to allow networks that were completely biased against the GOP in 2016, but Fox is too much for them for the 2020 primary debates. So another tidbit is you have a company called Ounce Water. And I want to put a picture up here. This is their 40-ounce container of water that they want to distribute in New York. In particular, the Brooklyn, New York area is protesting this bottle of water because it looks too much like malt liquor and could be traumatizing to the youth. It's a bottle of water. So look up that story. I'll put a link and judge for yourself. So next, this week we hit 1,000 subscribers in just a very short period of time, and I'm so thankful. And I just wanted to go over some questions and comments that people have made and invite you to leave your comments below. Ask questions. I'll address them on future shows, but please leave them. Let me know what you think. So let's dive in. Here's one from Brian Kananzi. It says, if there's no difference in gender is a social construct, then where are all the women transitioning to men dominating men's sports? That's an awesome question because all we see now is men entering the women's sports. They're dominating. So if there's no difference between men and women, why aren't we seeing women enter as, living their lives as men starting to dominate? Maybe it's because there's an actual difference between men and women. I don't know. Also we have, this is from Doofus Duck. Changing the name from global warming to climate change allows the left to argue that they are correct no matter what the climate does. And he's absolutely right. As you saw in my story from 1989, they talked about global warming. And now you don't see that anymore at all. You see climate change because whether it's warm or cold makes no difference. Ocasio-Cortez commented on that the other day saying, oh my gosh, sometimes it's way too cold, sometimes it's too hot. It's all the same thing. It's all climate change. So we had a couple really nice comments too. Miss Laura wrote in and said, never heard of the channel. I don't have YouTube Red, so this was an ad between Ghost Adventures. Nice channel. Love it. And Grammy Debbie wrote in and said, new subscriber here. I'm happy to see a new face with real news stories and a sane take on them. Plus, your show is much, much better than Ben Shapiro's. Actually, that part in brackets I added, I didn't mean to leave it in. I was just thinking out loud. So we'll move on. Not all of them were good. Some of them were strange. And I wanted to bring some of those up. Fran Brand asks, am I banned from posting? I read your post in the comments, so I don't think you're banned. I'm not sure. But the fact that you left it is kind of a good indicator. But I'll get back to you on that. And we have Password Bosco. And this was a good one. He says, okay, but that fake A space shuttle model behind you, really? Suspect. Either ignorance and acceptance of the part of the agenda, capital A agenda, product placement to continue the farce. 1 minute out and at 1 minute in. So a fake model? I mean, that's a real model. I'm not sure exactly what he's saying unless he's continuing the kind of moon landing conspiracy that we didn't launch space shuttles into orbit and into the space station. So I've got to do some research, but I'm pretty sure that's a real model. So anyway, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for your comments. Please send them in. Thanks for getting me to 1,000 subscribers, and let's keep growing. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.